If you know what you got to offer, it ain't no thing.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wing on the strike.
What is it? Miss Men Are Like Buses. Miss one, next 15, one coming. And I think maybe that's the conundrum that a lot of men find themselves in today, especially with the Me Too movement.
Right.
It used to be, and probably still, well, now it's probably apps, where the number one place where people would meet was at work. And now you have all these sexual harassment parameters, and they're like, I'm fearing for my job. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Love.Truth.Wellness. I'm your host, Jamie.
And I'm your co-host, Carolyn.
And this is a podcast, a Christ-centered podcast, where we lead with love, speak the truth without reservation, and affirm that everyone deserves to abide in wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are continuing our series, Dating God's Way. This is episode 6.
I think so.
Yes, episode 6, Dating God's Way. This is a series that we anticipated would be, several different episodes, but it's turning into maybe something a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Episode 6, Pursuit.
Yeah.
So it's episode 6, part of the Dating God's Way series, and it is part 1 of Pursuit. Yeah. I'm just saying it's going to be part 1 because we've been like a little long-winded. So it may just be one episode. It may be a part 1, part 2. We don't know. However the Holy Spirit leads. We just ate, y'all. So we got to wake back up.
Got the itis.
We got to wake back up. So bear with us. But are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, Pursuit. I think when I came up with this episode concept or the series concept, I wanted to talk about pursuit because it seems to have evolved over the last few years, even definitely over the last few years. The pandemic affected everything, but also just the last few decades.
So when you say pursuit, you're talking about as in who pursues who in the dating?
I mean, pursuit in general. We can delve into who pursues who, but just the art of pursuit, because one thing I learned in my little dating escapades is that we invite pursuit. We invite pursuit, and then we choose whether or not to entertain pursuit. But in this day and age, it's not traditional men pursuing women so much as forgive me, but it seems like these men are kind of passive and they're being pursued by women. So we just want to talk about pursuit in general, of course, with the context of our segments, leading with love, speaking the truth, what God has to say about it, and then how to abide in wellness in that space. That's it. You like,
okay. What's the first question? So you want to ask who?
It seems like you want to ask that. You co-hosting this thing.
I don't know. I'm just. I guess it. Okay. I'm just trying.
Gather yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. So, well, I guess I would say traditionally, the man is supposed to pursue the woman. That's traditionally. Now we've had women's liberation, women's lib, and a lot of people feel like it's okay for a woman to ask a man out or pursue another man, but is that the natural order of things?
Well, we'll definitely unpack that in segment 2. Speak the truth without reservation.
Okay.
We'll definitely go into that. But leading with love, when it comes to pursuit, I don't want to beat women up who are maybe they have a more outgoing personality, maybe they're just more friendly and whatever the case may be. And maybe there are some men who are naturally more reserved and reticent to put themselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I guess we can take an example from the Bible, Ruth and Boaz. Now, if you look at that story in the Bible, where Ruth and her mother-in-law Naomi, both recently widowed, had no family. They were in an area where they didn't have any support, so they decided to move back to Naomi's hometown. But of course, with them not having any husbands or no sons, basically they were on their own. So they had to rely on Ruth to, get food. So Boaz allowed Ruth to glean in his
only
field.
Ruth went with her.
And only Ruth, yeah, because
the other widows returned to their home of their fathers.
Orpah, yeah. She returned to her family. And Ruth decided she was going to stick with Naomi. So they returned to her homeland, where they had to rely on Ruth, to get, have food. And Boaz was a landowner, and he allowed Ruth to come behind his workers and what they call it, like glean.
Get the scattered.
Yeah, get the leftovers after they had done their work. So in that story from the Bible, who is pursuing who, you would say?
Well, Naomi was orchestrating that thing.
Yeah.
Because she knew the law. This is her home. This is her turf.
Right.
And she knew he was the closest kinsman redeemer, closest relative. And so she used Ruth's willingness to do whatever it takes, because that was not, the poorest of the poor would go and gather up the leftovers in order to be able to eat. So she humbled herself because her mother-in-law asked her, because they did need that provision. But Naomi particularly sent her there because she knew that Boaz was an honorable man. So even if he did not choose to redeem her, he was not going to hurt her or take advantage of her or
allow anyone else.
Yeah, he would make sure that his men knew, don't bother her. Because being a poor woman in that society without the covering of a husband or a father, you were in a dangerous and precarious situation. So she knew that no matter what, they would be able to eat and that she would be protected. But she had hope that he would do the honorable thing and redeem her as the closest relative and step up and say, I'll marry her. So, in the end, she obeyed her mother-in-law and humbled herself and laid at the feet of Boaz, again, putting herself in a vulnerable position in terms of society and emotionally, that this man could reject her. But she put herself out there first, and it was up to him to say, okay, I'll do this. And I think that some interpretations say that the age difference could have been why he felt like, I'm too old for her. She can do better. She may not want me. So in that situation, maybe if she had made herself vulnerable, he never would have pursued her, because he would have felt like it would be better for her to have a younger man. But God worked that thing out. And from that lineage, we have our Lord and Savior.
Right. So I brought that up because in the dating realm, like you said, Ruth made herself available. So if she hadn't made herself available, Boaz probably would not have approached her. So I think it is up to us as women to make ourselves available. There are signals, like they used to say back in the day. The signals, like they used to be, TV. Way back in the day, TV, they would drop their handkerchief in order, and then the man would pick it up, and so that would be an excuse for them to engage in conversation. Right. So, and I guess it used to be back in the day that a lot of women and men would meet. You would meet at church or then at work. I don't know if there's any.
And there used to be matchmaking.
Right.
Like what Naomi did in that story we just told.
So I don't know if there's not much of that going on.
So when you think of pursuit, I think what you first opened with was that is like everybody says man's supposed to pursue, a man's supposed to pursue, and
that's how they say it.
Yeah, man's he's supposed to be a man. But think about it. It's kind of ironic that traditionally men are the ones to be pursuers when they are the ones with the most fragile egos. And I think that's probably on purpose because they have to humble themselves and make themselves vulnerable to rejection in order to pursue women's. And I don't think that's by accident, but I think that if you're leading with love in the situation with dating, as a woman, you want to make sure that he's aware that you're available, not in a desperate way, not in a way where you're chasing him, but in a way that says, it's okay if you want to approach me. I am open to you approaching me, kind of like smoothing the path out for them to take that step. Because you can't just think about yourself. And dating is not about you. And then even when you're in a relationship, and definitely when you're in a marriage, it's not about you. It's about putting the other person first. So I think to set the tone for what you desire, which would, in this context, since this is a Christian podcast, the desire would be marriage, that you have to start maybe kind of thinking like a married woman, thinking like someone who puts, or a man, I don't want to assume that only women watch this, that you're putting the other person first and saying, what do they need at this moment? So if you're just starting a relationship or wanting to date and start a relationship, then what they need is the assurance that they will be accepted.
Right. You gotta make them aware
of your interest.
Right.
Because it is reciprocal. It's not just the man chasing with no indication from the woman that she's enjoying the chase.
I like the because what was that cartoon? What was it? Pepe Le Pew. You remember?
Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew, where he was he a skunk? Or
I think he was a skunk.
I think he was a skunk. And he kept.
That's why the name was ironic.
Pepe Le Pew. And he was, I love you. And she was, I mean, he was practically smothering her to death. But I think, wow, the things that we're taught when we're young.
True. Media, you can't even imagine what they learning today, girl.
Because that was kind of an aggressive approach, because clearly she did not want him.
And I think maybe that's the conundrum that a lot of men find themselves in today, especially with the Me Too movement. It used to be, and probably still, well, now it's probably apps, where the number one place where people would meet was at work. And now you have all these sexual harassment parameters, and they're like, I'm fearing for my job.
Right. If you're in a relationship, a lot of jobs, they make you do a
disclosure. Disclosure. Okay, that you are both willingly entering into this relationship, and the guidelines of set forth by their company. But I think that is something that men think about, like, most of the time you meet somebody at work and you're just like, I don't want to be accused of sexual harassment. I guess some women too. So they try to tread lightly. And then with the Me Too movement, it's all about the women's empowerment. So I think that, honestly, and I'm trying to lead with love, but I think that a lot of men have gotten complacent in saying, well, if they want me, they'll let me know.
I think so.
And that's ungodly. Just gonna say it.
Because I agree with you. I think a lot of men have become passive, but then especially with didn't you say there's an app where the women,
Bumble or something?
Yeah, so all the men are on there, but the women is the one.
Men cannot initiate.
Okay,
only women can initiate contact.
So I mean, like, what kind of message are we sending? So no wonder a lot of men aren't approaching it. We're like, well, they're approaching us.
Yeah, they don't. They don't have to. A lot of the times. Anyway,
it's wild.
Anyway,
it's wild.
But so leading with love and pursuit, you definitely want to be mindful as women that you want to invite that pursuit, and then as men that you want to look for those signals. And boss up, man up, and pursue what you got your eye on. I think so often, especially in the Christian space and churches, so often people have interest or crushes, and nobody ever makes a move.
Right. Yeah, somebody has to make a move.
And it needs to be the man.
Right. And I think
He's talking about somebody.
Yes.
It needs to be the man once he's confirmed that, you know, she's like giving you, she doing lingering eye contact, something. Always touching you when you're talking, laughing at everything you got to say, seeking you out, whatever it is.
I remember telling a friend of mine, because she was saying a coworker, based on his approach and the things I saw. I said, well, I mean, he has shown that he's interested. I said, now it's on you to show that you're interested. Yes. And I said, you got to flirt. Like I said, do this, or you linger, your eye contact, or
remember something he said and bring it up, follow up. So he'll like, oh, she was really paying attention. Or if it's the reverse, you know, he was really paying attention to what I had to say. He remembered, like you might mention, oh, I love dark chocolate, or I really like this lunch place. And when he approaches you, he might say, oh, I got, you know, a meeting out that way. Did you want to ride with me and have lunch or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or even just bring it in. Like, I was at lunch, I thought about you, and I know you usually take lunch later, so I bought you something from your favorite place. And I mean, if that's not showing consideration, because it really is a precursor to who you are in a relationship, how you pursue, how you approach. And if you are being yourself and someone is turned off by the way you pursue, then they would not like being in a relationship with you. They're not the one for you.
You just move on. Move on.
So, like, that's pretty much leading with love and pursuit, is to put the other person first, or think about things from their point of view. I think that in our generation and generations to follow, everybody is like the heroine in their own saga in their minds. And it's not all about you. I cannot reiterate it enough. If you're a type of person who feels like it's all about me, then you are not a relationship person.
Right. Yeah, because a relationship, it is sacrifice. You have to put others before you a lot. Yeah. So,
and not just romantic relationships, all kinds of relationships, but even more so in the romance department. So that's what I would say, that if you're a man, boss up. Don't get complacent. Don't be afraid to respectfully pursue a woman, and pray and be mindful that if she gives you indications that she's not feeling it, then know when to back off and keep it moving. And for women, don't put it all off on the man. It's like, oh, you're the pursuer. You're the one supposed to chase after me. Like, no, we are called upon to invite that pursuit. And I know people are going to be like, well, how do I invite? You know, the art of flirtation, they don't know what to do. I would say that you have to just be vulnerable and get real comfortable with the rejection.
Right.
And that's another part we're going to talk about later. But
yeah, and then with flirting, everybody probably don't know you flirting, but that's okay.
Oh, people in your business, like, oh, she out there.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Because well, I won't say that. But yes, you have to be kind of obvious and over.
So you're about to say how men. Well, it goes back to the ego. Right. It's fragile, and you know, they will doubt themselves, and you do kind of have to be obvious. But I mean, I'm just a naturally friendly person, so you know, people be thinking I'm flirting, and I'm not. So trust me, you'll know if I'm flirting. There will be no doubt in your mind.
So so others may know, but you ain't got to worry about that.
Give a hoot.
Yeah.
That goes back to the vulnerability. And women, we can be rejected too. When you invite pursuit, then you are inviting the possibility of rejection, because you could be trying to do that lingering eye contact, looking every which way better at you, you know, and you could be trying to touch him. And he could be dodging, like, hey, what you doing? So if you know what you got to offer, it ain't no thing.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wing on the strike.
What is it? Miss Men Are Like Buses. Miss one, next 15, one coming. I think that's an old country rap. I think. So that's leading with love when it comes to pursuit. Anything else you want to add?
I believe that pretty much covers that.
That's all I can think of at the moment when it comes to pursuit. So just be inviting and be vulnerable and understand that the risk of rejection is part of it. It is what it is. So I think that's all we got for this episode of Love, Truth, Wellness. We hope that something that we said today is going to help you navigate this dating space, courtship space, whatever you want to call it, as you pursue and are pursued. As always, please consider liking and sharing. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting on? Don't you want to just get all this goodness on a regular basis? Don't get lost in the YouTube algorithm. Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Carolyn.
And you've just listened to another episode of Love, Truth, Wellness. Until next time, keep the faith. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to tune into part 2 of our series, Dating God's Way, episode 7, part 2 of Pursuit. We have a lot more information, especially biblical information, to share with you. So be sure to check that one out tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye.